Welcome, boys and girls. Costin here with Supreme Grudge Bearer. He's direct, he collects grudges, and he makes sure they are all repaid. He starts with tier 1 capital, as well as an army primarily made up of melee units, so he also has the gyro bombers and quarrelers. He also starts with the master engineer hero, which is going to be very useful. The important thing from a master engineer hero is triangulation, which adds a significant amount of missile strength. Remember that because it is going to be important. Karazakarak also has a bunch of building slots that you can utilize for your own benefit. My recommendation, go for Gem Mineshaft. Those tradable resources are going to be very useful. And when you start this campaign, a couple of other things to take into consideration is declarations of war to get yourself going. Couple of things, declarations of war against minor factions that are not going to be especially relevant in the long term. Because, interestingly enough, Thorgrim kind of carries over some things from Warhammer 1 in that he has a good amount of vision with a significant number of factions at the beginning of his campaign. And that visibility is going to be especially useful. Start with getting away of the guilds because it's subsidies, all that pretty obvious stuff. And then you go beat up Scarsnik because that's just how we roll as Thorgrim. We don't screw around, we don't mess around. It might be beneficial if you're playing this particular campaign to actually fight the field battles manually. The reason you want to fight the field battles is you might get more oath gold from that. Though, keep in mind, Thorgrim does have an additional advantage with regards to that because he has a whole bunch of quest battles at level 7, 12, 17, and 22. So any Age of Reckoning that you have, and you might miss a couple of grudges in terms of the grudge progress meter, can be filled out using that. So when you're playing this campaign, you want to go hard and you want to go fast because one, you unlock those quest battles earlier, though keep in mind there is one against trolls that you should be a bit careful of because there's a lot of trolls and you don't really have anti-large. Maybe there is a value proposition in getting Ballistae when you're playing Thorgrim. Or just rushing gyrocopters, though keep in mind gyrocopters are not necessarily great against anti-large, so bear that aspect in mind. Iron Drakes can work, Thunderers can work. It isn't really a hard battle from the perspective of enemies, it's more like there's a lot of trolls and you gotta go slay them. So the campaign path is very, very straightforward. Yes, I lost some miners there. Not really a problem, not a concern. We're just going to get some miners with blasting charges. And now, here's where things get a bit interesting. Because obviously you want to deal with Scarsnik, but you want to be careful again how you do it. So one of the things you should get Grudge against Foul for that melee attack against Greenskins. That's going to be especially useful against Scarsnik. And then you want to break open the casks and get Triangulation. And then, if you're also going to need some anti-large, you could also get the Demon Slayer provided you own the DLC. That is actually a relevant point. And remember this kind of movement because it actually is useful to recall. Get extra local recruitment capacity in this campaign because what I'm showing here, by the way, is unmodded. So this is the kind of campaign which you can easily dominate if you make a couple of the right decisions early on. Now, we want to defeat Scarsnik, keep that in mind, but we also want to be smart about him. We want to outsmart the sneaky little shit. And one important thing to note is you will need to win 4 battles against Crooked Moon to get the Master Rune of Spite. So, how do we do that? Well, we set up a lovely little ambush for the King Gabo himself. We set up ambush stands, we go over here, we get some extra income, or really, you should go for Oath Gold, because you will want it. Why will you want Oath Gold? Well, you'll want it for the sake of items, and you'll also want it for things like Rat Poison, Dwarven Grims. What you really aim for is Construction Guilds, Grand Throne Chamber. Those two are really important things, and it is just beneficial in your campaign to get those as quickly as possible. Get a Rune Lord as well if you can. If you don't have any DLC, that's fine. it's not really a problem, so to speak, on anything. Keep in mind something. The reason you want to recruit Dwarf Warriors with shields is for whatever unknowable reason. They do better in terms of auto-resolve. Should have declared war on Scarsnik right there. That's on me. But we can do so right now and also get some casualty replenishment in the process. So just go to war with Scarsnik right now and pay attention to any factions that you might get a peace agreement with as well after those declarations of war. Merge all of these guys together, send Thorgrim on a little chase right there. Or we could just take the settlement and then pull back with this guy. The reason we want to pull back is because we want to be smart about how we handle this. This is the part where it can go sideways very quickly. You don't need a runesmith, by the way. And we are out of money. That's fine. The army we have, as it currently stands, should be sufficient for the task at hand. Though we could always cancel one particular building, specifically the Gyro building, in order to just recruit more units. Or we could skip past recruiting units because, again, the army we have is sufficient to beat the living hell out of Scarsnik. If I had declared war on him earlier, that would have worked better. This is going to be potentially a tricky battle, but it's not really a problem. We have those Gyrocopiers, we have those Dwarf Warriors. Just make sure you take out the Ragnarok and you'll be gold. So, a couple of turns later, we have dealt with the problem that is called Scarsnik. Not really much of a problem, more like vermin that needs to be dealt with. And here's the thing to understand about Thorgrim's campaign dynamic. You have Karazakrak, it's as impregnable as a fortress as you will get in the game. Undeniably so. And that is to your benefit, really, because you can use that as a springboard to, well, protect yourself. And now that we're getting Iron Drakes and Thunderers, we will then have the army needed deal with Gorbad. And deal with Gorbad in a fairly decisive, clean-cut way. And bear in mind, we're not at war with him. So we actually can sneak up on Black Crag and just beat the git. No problems whatsoever. Firm recommendation, though, is to actually do those quest battles, because those quest battles are very important, but you also want, quite crucially, to recruit a lot of units. It doesn't matter what they are. It just matters that you recruit them. Why does it matter that you just recruit them? Well, it really has to boil down to the fact that having a lot of units recruited helps your faction strength. And your faction strength is a fairly vital component in how the AI sees you. So if the AI thinks you're weak, it will attack you. This is especially relevant as we have a nasty little neighbor called Tretch. And Tretch is the kind of neighbor no one really wants. Another thing that's really worth saying on this subject is you really, really want to do these quest battles. Not just for the reckoning that it provides, because I have 7 turns right there. I need a good, decent amount of grudges. That will be definitely useful, but importantly, it's a huge level of cash. So the Axe of Grimnir, it looks like something that might seem, it's actually fairly easy as a quest battle. Just bear in mind, you do have to deal with those 2 Doom Divers, and that is obviously something that's going to occupy your time, really. But just to showcase how this actually does unfold in a real battle situation, and this is useful as a demonstration also for the sake of dealing with Scarsnik in a battle. Though you, of course, won't have Defenders or Iron Drakes. You will have some Quarrelers, but the relevancy of the ranged army positioning is significantly less than the relevancy of how you use your gyro bombers, because that's the real kicker right there. See, a lot of things here in this battle don't matter. And this is how a lot of Thorgrim's early battles play out. What does matter are these guys. They've got a lot of bombs, and how you use those bombs is actually something that defines the success or failure of your campaign. Assuming they don't get stuck on trees. That is also kind of relevant, but obviously in most battles you do want to inflict to kill the entire army, not just kill the objective. The objective actually of this battle is to kill the enemy lords, the free shamans right there. Everything else is kind of a noisy little thing. We do have some Goblin Wolf Riders coming up, but really our goal is to try and do some damage. You shouldn't underestimate how powerful these things are. They're, one, very sturdy, and two, more importantly than one might believe, they can do a heck of a lot of damage in an actual with their actual range capability. So that is kind of the relevant point when you're playing a battle like this. Never forget your gyros are quite capable of dealing a lot of death from above. They're actually pretty good at sniping large entities, including that Ragnarok Scarsnik has. And that's where we want to use them, by the way. What we want to use them for. So sniping lords from a distance, dealing with enemy artillery. For instance, because that's the one problem we do have. I believe the actual quest battle that we have to deal with right here does require us to get gyrocopters in Warhammer 1, if memory serves. And Thorgrim himself has the ability of reducing melee defense for enemy targets. And on top of that, we also have this engineer who can do a flashbang on a target, which also is in itself pretty damn useful. And again, something not to be underestimated in terms of the sheer capability that it does offer you in a battle. Like, he's got a lot, you can use it, win battles that you should lose. And even with the baseline dwarf army, he is just something else. Now, we kill the enemy leaders, and that will resolve a lot of the problems that we have here. And as we can see, by the way, our gyros have actually taken very little casualties in the process. Though these guys have not taken so few casualties. But that's the norm. That's to be expected. Now the gyros are dumping down after they've taken a whole heap of range damage. Quest battles will inherently cause you more damage than most other battles, but that's the reason they give you so much in terms of rewards. It's the assumption that you're going to pay a price to win these victories. The real kicker is with regards to the quest battle that gives you Gotrek and Felix. That's the one where you want to bring a significant number of gyrocopters if you want to have an easy time with it. I don't really care too much if I lose the Longbeards. I do care about everything else. There we go. That's it. Says Pyrrhic victory. Bit of a mess, I won't deny it, but I think all our units walked out of that. And that's kind of the vital point. It doesn't matter if in this situation I lose a lot of my army or some of my army. What matters is really that I walk out of this intact. So now that we're rank 12, let me show you some of the real power that he has. He has control in all provinces, growth in all provinces, corruption in all provinces, Thanes, engineers, runesmiths, as well as replenishing campaign movement range after winning a battle. Thorgrim is Thorgrim. Don't mess with him, and things will look well for you. Mess with him at your own damn peril is my recommendation with respect to him. There's also the fact that Cathayan caravans will be showing up in your region, and you can do trade agreements and declarations of war as well, if you want to. By the way, you don't need to use those declarations of war. For the Gotrek and Felix quest battle, I do firmly recommend getting 24 pounders. The reason is that quest battle simply requires you to ensure you've got the ability of dismantling the AI's summoners. Or disrupt their summoning. If you disrupt their summoning, things will be better. Now, later on in your campaign, at this point, let me tell you what my plan is. I'm going to take Black Crag. I'm going to be merciless in that. I'm also going to construct an additional army right here when I can afford it. I will not be moving towards Black Crag very quickly, though, because right now we have a secondary battle that's going to pop up, and that's the Armor quest battle. That one is a bit trickier than normal, but we can see that over here we've got 7 turns. If we do these quest battles and we take Black Crag, we should be there where we need to. Now, in terms of the units, I should probably recruit some guys over here before I do the Troll quest battle. It's just because of the Trolls. I have plenty of capability right here, plenty of money in 9 turns. This campaign is effectively won. The one concern is obviously Tretch, but let me tell you something about Mr. Tretchy over here. Mr. Tretchy, as I'm going to call him, the way he operates in a campaign more often than not is he will try and take this province or Karakazul. More often than not, he'll try and take both, actually. How you deal with him is simple. This is a choke point, and you don't really need a lot of units to hold it. You can even use the auto-resolve settlement mechanic against him. So a couple of units of Dwarf Warriors or Dwarf Miners, if you are in a bind and you know he's declared war on you, can actually stop a lot of armies cold. You can even use Gotrek and Felix here if you get them when you get them. Research-wise, you want to go for Rat Poison. That casualty replenishment counts for quite a bit. Rarely enough, I've talked a lot about races that have a bad situation casualty with casualty replenishment. Dwarves have an interesting dynamic where even a couple of points of casualty replenishment helps them quite a bit. This is the reason Grombrindle is so fucking awesome, because he gives a ton of casualty replenishment faction-wide. Combined with the research, you effectively do not need Demon Slayers for high casualty replenishment. Kind of crazy, kind of ridiculous, nonsensical. Don't ask me about the different races work differently, I suppose. I couldn't tell you why dwarves do better with small percentages of casualty replenishment. I suppose it's because they were designed around it. It just didn't work in Warhammer 3. It wasn't as much of a problem in Warhammer 2, but it ended up being a pretty substantial issue in Warhammer 3. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Costin signing out. Stay tuned for more.